Welcome to a live Kerfefe break on Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri. This is a new time. If you're regular here at Deprogrammed, we are going to start doing these at 1 p.m. Central, which is an hour later than we used to start. So that's for the Monday and Friday live shows. I met with Mystery Chris last week and we talked about some stuff for the channel, and uh, it seems that more people are online at that time, and so we thought it might be better to push it back. So if it's bad for you, I apologize. Let me know in the chat what you think about it, if it's cool or not. And I fully recognize a lot of people listen later anyway. So welcome. If it's your first time here, this is a live show we do on Deprogrammed Mondays and Fridays, just to talk about what's in the news, what's on our mind, and have a bit of fun and laughs and hang out with each other and survive in what is sometimes a crazy point in history that we're living through. So that's what we try to do. I just want to show you before we get started something totally silly that made my day. I had some points on Amazon, and so I was able to get something for free, and I chose uh these glasses. Remember these old novelty glasses? These are the ladies. They come in a pack with men's and women's, so you have one for each. They don't have any of them days. They just have men's and women's. And I can't tell you how it's so silly, and it's such a cheap laugh, but it makes me laugh so hard. Just been having fun with these this morning. So if you need a reason for a laugh, I highly recommend getting some old school novelty glasses. You can do a lot with them. I like wearing them out. You can wear them out and just, like nothing's odd about it, which is Byron Tomsky, Keri, you are a nerd. Well, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Z Highness says I need those for lectures. I would love to see that. You should just wear them like everything's normal to a lecture you're giving. Like so stupid. Slapstick comedy. Okay. So welcome to Friday, guys. I'm excited to get into today's topics. I had a lot of thoughts about the Jason Aldean cancellation, so we're going to talk about that first. And then I also pulled up some stuff. I went down a rabbit hole on all the ways in which owning a dog or saying hello to dogs or dogs themselves are racist. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of articles and essays and opinions that woke people have about dog ownership and about dogs. And so we're going to look at some of the funniest ones that I found. Um, and that'll be after we talk about Jason Aldean. So first of all, if you weren't online this week and you didn't see this, it's not that out of the ordinary in terms of attempted cancellations. I mean, in the past few years, we've all gotten very used to the woke, the mainstream, the press, the other celebrities all sort of colluding to try and do these attempted shamings and cancellations of people that they feel like step out of the line, the narrative, or don't support woke ideology. And one of the celebrities or popular artists who they've targeted several times is country music star Jason Aldean. They've also targeted his wife. They've called his wife transphobic. I mean, they've come after him many times. If you're not familiar with him, as someone who loves country music, he's not really my cup of tea. He's sort of, he's radio country. He's pop radio country. And my issue with that kind of music is the same issue I have with a lot of radio music and popular music today, which is that it just sounds like it was it's overproduced, and it sounds like it was created by an algorithm sometimes. So I think for me, it's just not what I prefer to listen to when I'm listening to country. I listen to a lot of old stuff. And however, if you're going to listen to radio country, he is one of the best ones, I think. And there's a couple of his songs that I really like. And this new song that they tried to cancel him over, I had not heard of this one yet. And I would say what is unusual about it, so the cancellation itself is not unusual. Basically, he put out a single called Try That in a Small Town. He put out the single in May. The music video came out a week ago. And the pylon started a couple days after the music video came out. And this is what's unusual about this attempted cancellation is that it backfired. And so I think it's important to look at some of the reasons why. And it's very encouraging also that it backfired. So what they said about his song is that it's racist, that it's pro-lynching, MAGA, white supremacists. Like, they called it all kinds of things. They said it's supporting violence. I just want to show you some of the stuff people have said, and then we're going to look at the actual lyrics so you can judge for yourself. Once the pylon started, one of the celebrities, musicians who joined in with the pylon was Sheryl Crow. So let's look at what Sheryl Crow says. This is so basic woke to me. This is just so like, I'm out of touch. I'm uninformed. I'm just here to virtue signal. That's what this statement says to me. Sheryl Crow decides to join the pylon, and she tweets at Jason Aldean, "I'm from a small town. Even people in small towns are sick of violence." Yeah, that's what his song is about. It's about being sick of violence. What she's doing there is manipulative. I don't know if it's because she's genuinely clueless or because she's purposefully being manipulative, but she's implying by saying that he's saying people in small towns like violence, or that he likes violence. That's not what the lyrics say. We're going to look at them. She says, "I'm from a small town. Even people in small towns are sick of violence." Yeah. There's nothing small town or American about promoting violence. Yeah. His song is against violence. And then she says, "You should know that better than anyone, having survived a mass shooting." Wow. Way to take something traumatic that I can't even imagine living through. Way to take something traumatic that he lived through and try and use it as a weapon against him. I didn't realize Sheryl Crow was so gross until I read this. I didn't know this about her. And then she says, "This is not American or small town like. It's just lame." Okay. So, and then she quote tweeted Shannon Watts. Now, Shannon Watts is the leftist activist who is claiming responsibility for the cancel mob. She's proud of it. She's proud of having led a cancellation mob. These people are not liberal. She may be leftist, but she's not liberal. Liberals don't do this. There's a difference between a boycott and what boycott is basically, you know what? I'm not happy with what this company's doing for advertising or marketing, like Bud Light, for example. That was a recent one. I'm not going to buy Bud Light. Some people, even went as far as to say why they weren't buying Bud Light or to express their opinions online. That's a boycott. What people like Shannon Watts do, what the cancel culture does, what people on the left do is it's not enough for her to say, "I don't like this song for whatever reason, and I'm not going to listen to the music video." She has to try and get the music video removed so that nobody else can watch it either. That's not a boycott. That's cancel culture. That's censorship. So she's claiming responsibility. I'll show you another tweet of hers in a second where she's bragging and doing a victory lap. Because she claims responsibility for being part of the reason why CMT, Country Music Television, folded like yellow-bellied cowards and took the music video down. They took Jason Aldean's music video from their rotation. They pulled it. And I believe as of today, I saw MTV has done so also. But Country Music Television, they have a DEI department now, guys. They have a diversity, equity, and inclusion department. They're thoroughly woke. And so they caved and they took his video down, and she did victory laps about it, this woman. If you look at her profile, she is the founder of Moms Demand. And if you go to Moms Demand, it's a anti-Second Amendment group. She's very anti-gun. She wants to ban guns. Again, not a liberal. Liberals don't try to take away your right to defend yourself. Liberals don't try to ban guns. These people are leftists. They're authoritarians, and that's what she is. So here she tweeted. She's done nonstop tweets about this, but here's one of them. Jason Aldean, she tags him, who was on stage during the mass shootings at a Las Vegas concert in 2017 that killed 60 people and wounded over 400 more, has recorded a song called Try That in a Small Town about how he and his friends will shoot you if you try to take their guns. And so then she has the lyrics here. So let's read through the lyrics because I think everybody should make up their own mind. Oh, hey guys. Hey chat. Hey horny Alf. Just saw you. Sorry, I haven't been looking over there. Good to see familiar faces. And I'm glad people made it here for this new time. Okay, so let's look through these lyrics. By the way, he didn't write this song, and that's been one of the criticisms too, is they're like, oh, he didn't write this song even. Yeah, most people on the radio don't write their own music anymore. Most of them don't even play their own instruments. A lot of them can't sing. They use autotune. I'm not saying any of that's true of him. I'm just saying it's so weird to suddenly hold someone to that standard when it, you know, that's a lie to do that because you're not holding anyone else to that standard. That's what popular music is today. Other people are writing songs for people. Other people are playing the instruments for a lot of them. Okay, so here's the lyrics. Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act a fool if you like. And during this part of the video, I'm not going to show it because I might get a copyright strike, but during this part of the video, you can see footage of this. He's included news footage and other footage to show some of the stuff he's talking about. It continues. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Okay, so what does this mean? All the leftists, and if you look up Jason Aldean, try that in a small town, you will see countless opinion pieces in the past 2 days from leftists who are all talking about what a white supremacist song this is and how he's justifying lynching of black people and how it's racist. And that is not what this is about. This is about enforcing rule and order. This is about still living by the things that by the law, by what we believe in. We've all seen in the big cities where the cops have been told to stand down at these riots. He included video footage of some of the Antifa and BLM riots that the media like to ignore are called mostly peaceful, where the cops were told to stand down from that, where the cops have been defunded. So he's like, no, that doesn't happen in a small town. By the way, if you're from a big city and you've never lived in a small town, like everyone knows everyone there, including the law enforcement. Like you're held to account to make sure that people are held to account when they break the law. Okay, so then he says, this is the part I guess Shannon Watts really doesn't like because it's pro Second Amendment. He says, I got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round it up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. That's where she's now interpreting that and saying, he says he's going to shoot you if you take his guns. Well, first of all, if you're talking about coming in the government with guns and trying to forcibly disarm people, you're not talking about anything legal or democratic or anything about liberty at that point anyway. So, this also, it's really funny to me because this little paragraph here is so tame compared to a lot of country music. I feel like the CMT, country music television, I'm basically like, I can't believe you pulled this video because of these lyrics. I mean, have you listened to any country music? Have you listened to Johnny Cash used to say, not that I don't agree with him, but I get the sentiment. He used to say something to the effect, I'll pull up the exact quote, but when he would sing the song about the flag, he would say beforehand, almost every time at concerts, that he loves this country because we have rights and freedoms, and that he would say something like, you got the freedom to burn the flag, and I have the freedom to shoot you. He would say that. And people knew that's tongue in cheek, but now it's like, hysterics over this, but they still play Johnny Cash. Hank Williams Jr., "The Country Boy Will Survive." Have they never listened to that song? Have they never listened to the countless songs about country ballads about murder? The Dixie Chicks put out that song, "Goodbye Earl." Women love that song. I guarantee you CMT loves that song. It's all about them killing a guy, getting revenge on a guy for domestic abuse. That's the Night That the Lights Went Out in Georgia, Reba McEntire. It's a song about murder. Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, they all have songs about murder. That's country music. It's storytelling also. Like, I just think the hysteria over this is just ridiculous given the history of country music and all the people they hold up as icons. So, okay, we'll continue. Then he's got the chorus again, "Try that in a small town, see how far you make it down the road, etc. We take care of our own." Then he says, "Full of good old boys." I'm sure they hate that phrase too. We saw them, if you're familiar with my friend Little Ragamuffin, who is a sewist and has her own line of sewing patterns. And sh- she was one of the people I interviewed at the very beginning of the Deprogrammed channel, in a group setting. I interviewed her with a couple of the knitters like Maria Tuscan and um, Marie Buskey from Skeins. And there were three people in the crafting world who had been, this attempted cancellation had happened for them. And the reason Little Ragamuffin, presumably what set off her cancellation, was that she had a pattern, a sewing pattern for a Western line called the Good Old Boy pattern. And it was a Western wear shirt, you imagine the pearl snap button kind of shirt. And several of her volunteers, that means people who buy her products and appreciate the work she does, they volunteer to model, to sew the design and model. And so some of them, the women who had already done the pattern, they had their husbands model in the shirts, and some of those men were black, and it didn't matter to the the woke mob. They came after her. They said the name itself, Good Old Boy, is necessarily racist. And that alone was reason to try and defame her all over the internet, to call her white supremacist, to try and shut down her business. They demanded an apology, and in the end, she didn't make the demanded apology, and that's why they tried to bring her down, because she showed strength of character. She showed an internal strength. And so I guarantee you this line here is another problem they have with it, because they insist, no, only my interpretation of that phrase matters, right? And a lot of these are white leftists from the north. They don't even know what that phrase means. So it continues with the chorus there, "Try that in a small town." So that's it. That's the whole song. We read through all the lyrics. Where's the stuff about race? There's nothing in here about race. And I would say, if you're a person who reads this, if you're a woke white leftist and you read this and you say, "Oh, you're talking about making sure criminals, like people who sucker punch people on the sidewalk and carjack old ladies and pull guns on the owners of a liquor store, and people who cuss out cops and spit in their face, if you're talking about making sure that that those people face the consequences of their actions, then you're talking just about black people." Who says that? A white leftist? Because that's what they see and hear, because they're racist. They see race everywhere, and they assign their own racist ideas to it and try and put it in the mouth and thoughts of others, the thing they're thinking. But there's nothing in here about race. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this one. Um, Here, I've got something else for you. So this woman, she tried, Shannon Watts, the one I mentioned, she tried to orchestrate this cancellation against Jason Aldean because of the song, and she it got a lot of things done. I mean, she, got it pulled from CMT, she got it pulled from MTV, and there are countless articles about it now from leftists in the media who are, calling it racist, calling him a racist. So all of that stuff is happening. That's true. But what was interesting about this cancellation, and I think amazing and something we need to figure out, is that it didn't work actually. Even with all those accomplishments, it backfired. So here is a meme I made. I'm not the best memer, but I try. When I have something I really want to put in meme form, I try. So she said this is a screenshot of one of her many tweets where she's bragging. And so she had shared the headline, the news article that says CMT pulls Jason Aldean's controversial "Try That in a Small Town" video. And then she shared that and said, "I'm proud to have had a hand in getting CMT to reject this racist and violent song." And and then if you look on the right-hand side, I include a screenshot of Billboard. Billboard posted this yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. It's Jason Aldean's "Try That in a Small Town" has reached #1 on US iTunes. And so what happened here is the cancellation backfired. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Streisand effect. It's named for Barbara Streisand. You can go and look it up if you want, the origins of the phrase. But basically, it means when there are unintended consequences of trying to hide something or cover something up or ban something. And namely, those unintended consequences are that it has the opposite effect of what you want. And instead of hiding it, it gets a lot more exposure and a lot more people see it. And so this was one of the best examples of the Streisand effect I think I've ever seen, because I don't know about you, but I had not heard of this new song. I didn't follow Jason Aldean before this. I follow him now. I didn't know about the song. I didn't know about the video. And that's true for countless people. And so if you go to his YouTube channel, which I highly recommend going there and just watching the video yourself and seeing what you think about it, seeing if you think the criticism is fair. I saw as of this morning, he was at 8.8 million views on the music video. Oh, look, now he's at 9.5 million. He's gaining millions a day. The video's only been out a week. 9.5 million. It's doing a lot better than his other videos in terms of how quickly he's accumulating views. And I also saw a lot of people who don't even like country music at all, or in my case, they like country, but maybe not radio country or whatever. I saw people who this is not their genre, this is not their cup of tea, this is not what they would be buying, but they're posting and saying, "I bought it just to support, just to say your cancel mob is not gonna work this time." And so all those people that didn't know about this song, you know, they're the ones buying it because of Shannon Watts and other leftists trying to cancel him. It's like, "You sure got him good, Shannon. You sure did get him good." The song went to #1. He's got almost 10 million views on the music video. A lot more people have heard of him. A lot more people are following him now. And a lot of the wrong thinker community online, which is becoming stronger every year, people who are not even country music fans, he's now on their radar, and they're all sharing it. They're all sharing the video. So I think this is a major encouragement to see where things are at currently. Now, this isn't gonna happen every time with every cancellation. There's a couple of reasons. Oh, Dawn says, "Did she reply?" Shannon Watts. Yeah, she blocked me. I'm blocked. The only reason I can look at this is 'cause, we have a deprogrammed Twitter account just for, show updates. So, I can't look at her account with my regular one. I have to go into the show one. Um, sorry, it looks like StreamYard is having a problem. I can't take that comment off of there? Well, we'll see. Now it's gone. Okay. Um, it seems like I lost you guys for a second. Let me know if there's any problem in the chat. But yeah, so they started this cancellation mob. It's not going well. Everyone is covering this now, even people who aren't country music fans. His song is doing great. And if you go to her Twitter profile, she continues doubling down about like what a success this is. And she's even responding to people who are saying to her, thank you for trying to cancel this. I wasn't aware of it. And that's why I bought it. And she's saying stuff, well, you can give your money, your redneck money to some, racist country singer if you want to, but it's not going to play on CMT. Like that's some win. We don't need CMT. We don't need CMT. These old institutions are dying. Who's sitting around watching country music television anyway? I don't, and I love country. Is the stream still down, Pirate? He says stream down, joke. Let me know. Has she even read the lyrics? Yeah, I think they've all read the lyrics, Thomas. I think there's two things happening. When you're in that ideology, you are primed to read so much into everything, especially if the person's a bad guy. They don't like him because he and his wife are Republicans. They openly have gone to Trump events before, and they're not part of, the woke celebrity cabal. Like, it's very rare to have someone in that world, even a country singer, who's not part of, it's all like one of us. They all have to have the same opinions. So they hate him. So they view him as a bad guy. So just by virtue of that, anything he does, they're going to be looking for these hidden messages, what they call the dog whistles. They view everything with those glasses. And so I think some of them genuinely they read his lyrics and they really come away from it thinking, oh, this is like Sheryl Crow. This is pro-violence and it's anti-American and it's racist. It's about lynch. I think some of them really believe that. But others, I know they don't believe that. They're just playing the woke game. They're just speaking the language because it's part of a grift or a way to accumulate fame, money, power, or to manipulate other people. There's a lot of people in woke who do that. I don't know which one Shannon is. I would assume she's that kind. But that's just a guess. I don't know. So the other thing I noticed is Jason Aldean is scheduled to perform at the Opry in a benefit for the school shooting. And so this is the Covenant school shooting. So they are trying to get him canceled from this nonprofit show that's raising money for the victims of a school shooting. Here, let me put this up. This is a news article from WSMV. It says Morgan Wallen, Jason Aldean, headline Covenant School Benefit Night at Grand Ole Opry. All proceeds will go to the Covenant School Community Fund. And then I'll just read just a little bit of it. Nashville's biggest country stars will gather and perform at the Grand Ole Opry to honor the victims of the Covenant School shooting. In August, the Nashville community will be able to gather as part of the special music event. And so August 7th at the Grand Ole Opry, and Shannon Watts and all these leftists and the anti-gun leftists, they don't like the fact that he survived a mass shooting himself, one of the biggest mass shootings in our country's history, and yet is not anti-gun, is not about going door to door, the government, men with guns, and confiscating the citizens' guns, disarming citizens. He's not on board with that. So because of that fact, they're trying to get him canceled from a benefit for victims of a school shooting, from contributing in this positive way. I mean, they're basically saying you can't have diverse viewpoints here and still want to support. You can't come together with us where we have a common cause and put other differences aside or political opinions aside. We can't come together with you. We're going to cancel you from this event. It's crazy. I don't know. Here, let me stop. I hope they fail at that, like they've failed to make a dent in his sales of his new song. And I hope he finds a way not to let it get to him. So, one of the reasons I think this one failed is obviously he's in a position that a lot of people are not in, being that he is very high profile, mainstream, popular artist, musician. So, and he's got a lot of resources for that reason. And so one of the reasons I think it failed is because he he has those resources. If he wants to fight back against the cancellation, he can, and he knows a lot of people will hear about it. So that's a positive in his corner. That also works as a negative sometimes, the fact that he's so popular and he is mainstream, because a lot of times they orchestrate these cancellations to try and punish very high profile people to make sure all the high profile celebrities and stuff stay in line. So that's probably part of the reason obviously part of the reason he was targeted is because he is a mainstream country star. But it worked in his favor because he decided to say something. So he released a statement, and I think this was the right move. He could have done a lot of things, and we've seen celebrities do a lot of things when they are targeted by one of these woke cancellation mobs. The absolute worst thing you can do, and we see the woke ones do this over and over. And sometimes we see the ones who are not woke, but maybe woke adjacent, or maybe just well-intentioned, or they don't get it. We see them do this too, and that's apologize, to offer the apology that is demanded of them. That's the absolute worst thing you can do. You don't apologize to one of these mobs. One of the things I tweeted in response to his statement was there's this old saying. I remember when I was a kid, I saw it on like these churches that they put like puns and clever things on their signs to try and get you to notice it when you're driving by. And I saw one that said, if you give the devil an inch, he'll become your ruler. It's a play on words, of course, inches and rulers. But the idea behind it is true. And that's very much how I think about the woke. If you give them an inch, they'll become your ruler. They rely on well-intentioned people taking them at face value and assuming good faith on their part. They rely on that, and they do not have good faith. But they rely on you to do that, and then I've seen some people who don't know any better who offer the apology. We've all seen that, especially the knitters who watch the show. Remember Karen Templer? Remember the very beginning of the SJW wars in knitting, when she wrote her blog, My Life in Color, and she talked about how excited she was to finally be able to go to India, a place she had always dreamed of going because all the rich culture and the different colors. And, she's a crafter, and she couldn't wait to see all the different colors of fabrics and stuff like that. And they called her racist. They all piled on her. They said she was a colonizer mentality and all this stuff. That she was othering Indian people and Indian culture. Just ridiculous stuff. And she didn't know. I think she was genuinely clueless and well-intentioned, didn't know what was happening to her, and so she apologized to these people. If you make the apology to a woke mob, to an authoritarian mob, it will never be enough. This has happened over and over again. They will reject your apology. They'll ask you to rewrite it. They'll tell you should have said this instead. It's never good enough. When you finally issue like the third version and get it right, or make your third apology, then they'll say, like an abuser, they make you beg for their approval. And then once they finally give the tiniest bit of it, they come with all these instructions now and demands for things you have to do going forward. So it's like, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, third or fourth apology. Finally, okay, good enough. And now you have to do the work. It's not enough to apologize. You have to do the work. Here's all the things you have to do. You know, I've seen some of them insist that the person who does the apology to, like, meet with them now to learn about how to divest of their white privilege, to to give a certain amount of their money, to donate, like to highlight the abusers' businesses and stuff. They guilt trip them. Like, they will own you once they see it works on you. I am so glad Jason Aldean didn't apologize, because he's showing them by not apologizing, your abuser tactics don't work on me. He did issue a statement explaining himself, and I felt bad that he felt a need to do that, but it was good that he did, actually, because it brought attention to what was happening. It brought attention to the attempted cancellation, and then people could come in to support him. So here's what he said instead of apologizing. He says, "In the past 24 hours, I have been accused of releasing a pro-lynching song, a song that has been out since May, and was subject to the comparison that I, direct quote, was not too pleased with the nationwide BLM protests. These references are not only meritless, but dangerous. There is not a single lyric in the song that references race or points to it, and there isn't a single video clip that isn't real news footage. And while I can try and respect others to have their own interpretation of a song with music, this one goes too far. As so many pointed out, I was present at Route 91, where so many lost their lives, and our community recently suffered another heartbreaking tragedy." He's talking about the Covenant shooting in Tennessee. "No one, including me, wants to continue to see senseless headlines or families ripped apart. Try that in a small town, for me, refers to the feeling of a community that I had growing up, where we took care of our neighbors, regardless of differences of background or belief, because they were our neighbors, and that was above any differences. My political views have never been something I've hidden from, and I know that a lot of us in this country don't agree on how we get back to a sense of normalcy where we go at least a day without a headline that keeps us up at night. But the desire for it to, that's what this song is about." So I thought that was a great statement, and it was cool to see some of the people that came out to support him. If you scroll, there's that there's that monster Shannon Watts in the comments. Look what she says. Translation. That's the thing, is they always have to put words in your mouth that you didn't say and thoughts in your head that you don't believe, because they can't engage with what you're actually saying. So they have to make up something and say, "Oh, this is what you really mean." Right? So here she goes. Translation. Jason Aldean simply wants to return to a time in America when good old boys could shoot or beat the shit out of people who they didn't think belonged in their town. Okay, whatever. And then here's crazy Keith Olbermann, who may be the craziest person on Twitter. He says, "You, the racist, MAGA kissing wimp who couldn't stand the heat in Connecticut, F off," except he said the word fascist. He's insane, Keith Olbermann. There's Chrissy Mayer saying, "At least he didn't tell a fried chicken joke." That's because Keith Olbermann came after her for her chicken joke. Okay, but the one I was looking for, where is it? There's one, if you didn't know, Roseanne Barr is back on Twitter, and she replied to this Shannon person. Oh, I don't know where it's at. I don't know if I should have found it beforehand, but she had a great, like, mic dropping moment, and it was really cool because Roseanne Barr is one of those people who I think she is just authentically herself. And that means she may have some opinions you disagree with and some you agree with, because she's not tailoring her opinion to match up with an exact, like, tribe, or to make sure that that she's only got the approved opinions, and she just sort of marches to the beat of her own drum, which I love. And here, I can't find it, so I'll stop sharing that. But she showed up in those comments, and she just had this great defense of free speech and defending Jason Aldean, a country star, and I thought, this is such a great crossover. Like, I love seeing this. This is one of the things that makes Twitter cool. Um, Somebody said she has a disturbingly violent mind. I don't know about that. I don't know what you mean by that, but um, and that may be true, but she's also, I think, also a genius in some ways, and I don't always agree with her, which for me, tells me she's being authentically herself. I think it would be weird if we agreed on everything. So somebody says Roseanne, Justin says Roseanne's a bit of a nut, but she's good people. Yes, I think she's a good nut. I don't mind the good nuts. Oh man. If you want to get in touch with me, somebody's asking about email deprogrammedpod@gmail.com. That's how you can get in touch with me. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Pirate. That's it. I just I don't know how to grab a link from I can't grab a link from the comments, so I don't know how to get to that link, but that's probably it. Um Here, maybe I could just find it by going there. She's so funny when she was one of those people that was banned. She was censored. She knows all about it. She was one of those people who was banned from Twitter, and now on Twitter 2.0, she has her account back, which is great. Here, I'll see if I can find it. She's not one to mince words. She actually, in some ways, not in every way, but in some ways, she reminds me of Trump a little bit because you're just like you never know what she's going to say on Twitter. Okay, here she is. I found it. She's also really funny on here. Can you guys see this? Okay. So she responded to the Shannon Watts woman, the leftist activist who put words in his mouth and said, "Translation, this is what it means." And Roseanne Barr said, "Him talking about small town values is not the same thing that your mind controlled dipshit brain filters it as. All you are doing is showing that you're batshit crazy, and that does no good for anyone. If you don't like the song, don't listen to it. Certainly don't project your insanity onto it. My God, you people are insane. Maybe check yourself into a facility or something." Liberals in my day protected art and made fun of those that said it had satanic messaging when you play it backwards or shit like that. That's what you guys are now, the epitome of what you used to hate. Go get help, or maybe dirty thing there, and shut the F up. Thanks. So there you go. and then what's really funny is somebody she's just funny because somebody said to her, like, trying to insult her. I saw this somewhere. Somebody said to her, Tom Arnold was the brains behind Roseanne, and she replied and said, "Hi, Tom." Yeah. Lindsay, Roseanne is the goat. Yes, nailed it. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but Tiger's having a nightmare. It's adorable. Can you hear that? It's my microphone's probably too good for you to hear. I think it's very focused here, but he's sleeping on the couch. He if you guys have dogs, I'm sure they do this too. When he's asleep, he has little dreams where I think he's like chasing squirrels or something. And so in his dreams, he'll do sometimes his legs will be moving like he's running, and then he'll do this muted kind of howling like that where he's like, yeah. Okay, he's done. He's done. Um okay, so yeah, I'm glad we read the Roseanne thing. That was funny. So I guess that's all I have to say about the Jason Aldean thing. No, actually, the reasons why I think it backfired, um, one, because he has the platform. He does already have a significant following. He's a famous, popular country music star, and so he had the popularity to be able to tell people what was happening and know that it would get heard, that people would see it. So sometimes when a cancellation happens, it's to someone who doesn't have those resources, and so they're trying to just get the word out that they're being canceled. Um, the other reason it didn't work is because he didn't make the apology. That is so important. Like I said, never apologize. If he had apologized and groveled to these bullies, to these abusers, to this woke left mob, I wouldn't have bought his song. I guarantee you it wouldn't have hit number one because a lot of people would have done the same. They wouldn't have bought it. The reason why we went out and bought it is because we wanted to support someone who did not bow to the mob. So I think that's the other reason it backfired. So let that be a lesson also, which is hopefully, I think it's encouraging because hopefully it means even if you're smaller, you have a small platform, what have you, the tide is turning enough so that if you stand your ground and you let people know what's going on, there will be people there to catch you and support you. I believe that's true. So that's great. Yeah, don't apologize. Okay. Um, okay, I've got a couple of Tiger having a nightmare is a good segue into my next topic because I've got a couple of things to show you here. The reason I started thinking about this, sometimes I go down weird rabbit holes, is just recently I've seen a lot of headlines about different things that are supposedly racist or white supremacist or far right that you didn't know. And I'm sure you've seen some of these if you're a person who spends a lot of time online. They're pretty freaking funny. This one I saw yesterday. Let's see if I can make this larger. This is a headline from The Guardian. I think James Lindsay is the person I saw share this first. The Guardian, uh, and it says opinion, the far right. Now, granted, some of these headlines are from a year or two ago. I think this is from 2 years ago, but it doesn't matter. These opinions are still out there. This is still the insanity of the woke media, which is the mainstream media now. Um, and so the headline on this one is Frilly Dresses and White Supremacy. Welcome to the weird, frightening world of trad wives. Uh, and so the subtitle is no longer a far-right subculture, the movement's anti-feminist tenets are now inserting themselves into mainstream Western politics. So it's this whole scare article about frilly dressed trad wives and white supremacy. So, I mean, I just think it's funny because it's like, if you wear a frilly dress, might be a white supremacist. So dumb. Okay, so then, oh wait, that's the wrong button. So then this one, I also saw this week, and the headline is coffee racist? How drinking coffee perpetuates white supremacy. And the subtitle is created by Black people for Black people and now a pillar of white supremacist capitalism. If you consume coffee, you are helping an industry built on racism. This is a real article. I went and looked at it. It's a real article. Um, this one also made me laugh. It's like, you got me. I do drink a lot of coffee. So stupid. Um, and then the third one, of course, this one went viral. This was a couple weeks ago, MSNBC, the far right's obsession with fitness is going digital. So, I mean, the message from all these things is like, do you enjoy the gym? You're far right. How about a cup of coffee? Do you enjoy coffee? Racist. Do you like frilly dresses? White supremacists. It's so funny, and I think it's important to point these things out when they happen because it helps show how absurd this ideology is to people who are on the fence, to people who are still trying to make up their mind about woke. And so, I love making fun of these things, and I think humor is a great asset in fighting woke because it's a cultural war. So, sense of humor is a part of culture, and I think it's great to make fun of these things. Um, so I started thinking about all the different ways you might be racist that you don't know about, right? Like coffee and frilly dresses and physical fitness. And so I thought of my dog, and I just looked up, is owning a dog racist? uh Dawn, by the way, Dawn says I get the Guardian headlines sent to my email so I can keep an eye on the fringe and laugh. Yes. It's so funny. So I started looking up about if owning a dog is racist, and I found a lot of crazy stuff. As I mentioned, if you look that up, you will find all kinds of articles about dogs being racist, about owning a dog being racist, about racism when people are choosing what color of dog to get, and more. There's how to stop your dog from being racist. Um, how white people talking to your dog is racist. I mean, there's a ton of them. So I'm going to pull up some of the funniest ones. One of the craziest ones that I saw that gets repeated a lot was this article, although I can't get to the original source material because it says it's not a safe link. Um, but was an article that was published in 2020, and if you look for it, you'll find a lot of mentions of it and a lot of where people took excerpts of it and criticized it. But I couldn't read the full thing. But it was an article on the United Wildlife Union called "Why White People Owning Dogs is Racist." And here's just one excerpt. Like I said, I found a lot of different pieces of it. We don't have to piece it all together and read all of them, but I'll just read this one. This is part of the article. It says, if you are white and own a dog, you are openly participating and advocating for cultural appropriation and colonialism. Reinforcing this culture is not acceptable and will come with its repercussions. Dogs are and always will be the living reminder of how tainted our history is as a whole. People of color deserve to exclusively own dogs as a form of restitution for their stolen ancestors' work. So this article was arguing that white people stole like dog owning from black people, like that we stole it from people of color, or who were the first to domesticate dogs as pets, and then we came in and stole it or something. White people did. Okay. So then they say supporting the idea of white dog ownership is spitting on the grave of past people of color generations. Now, somebody here on this message board where this is quoted says, this is fringe, this is not mainstream, and I would only say I don't know how. I mean, it's fringe, but it has like a big microphone today. This kind of woke crap has a big microphone, and a lot of the people who are writing op-eds and stuff with these crazy views, I mean, I don't know how many of them really hold these views, or they're just trying to speak the ideology. Like I mentioned before, some people speak it for what they can gain in terms of fame or money or power. And so some of them might just be writing woke garbage because they're nihilists and they don't care about anything and they're narcissists and they're just writing it so they get clicks and get paid. That's probably true. But it's definitely, the market is saturated with these pieces. So I'm going to share two of the funny ones, maybe three of the funny ones. Okay, here's one. Okay, this is a blogger who wrote a piece commenting on a Dear Prudence letter to Slate magazine. Now, I read the original also, which she includes some of it in here, but her blog is better. It's even funnier. So the original Dear Prudence letter is a white woman who writes a letter asking for advice, a woke white woman, and she's very upset because her black neighbor told her, "Don't say hello to my dog if you're not going to say hello to me." And so, and has been very mean to her since. And so she's basically wondering if she's racist, and she's begging Dear Prudence, to tell her what to do. And it is the epitome of white guilt, white lady wokeism, and just not being a genuine individual. They can't. It's like once they get in that ideology, and I was in it, they can't just exist and be a human and treat people as humans and individuals. They see everything through race, and their ideology tells them to treat black people differently, and so they do, and then it just becomes awkward and freaking weird. It just becomes weird. And so anyway, this lady's weird. Let's read through this. This is pretty funny. Now again, we're reading the black woman. This is her blog. She's blogging about the letter. Okay, so the headline is it racist when white people speak to your dog and ignore you? Sorry. Probably because everything's racist now. This morning, during my daily perusing of Twitter, I stumbled upon this question someone sent to Slate Magazine's advice column, Dear Prudie. And so then she embeds the letter, the Slate piece. Dear Prudie, my neighbor yelled, "Don't say hi to my dog if you aren't going to say hi to me." She goes, I was tickled because I already knew this was a white person writing in, likely speaking about a black dog owner. And the first sentence of the query erased all doubt. Okay, so here's the letter. The letter itself is ridiculous. Okay, question. This is on Slate to Dear Prudence. Question. I just love dogs. I live in the downtown area of a gentrifying city. I have worked intentionally to become part of the community I joined while respecting its roots, supporting local business, volunteering, etc. I know I have lots of unconscious racial biases, but I try hard to listen and not cause harm. This is, you know what's so funny? I just have to interject. You know, the the leftists, they like to call people pick me's. That's the phrase they use. So basically, if you they call anyone who is part of one of their so-called oppressed groups who doesn't support woke ideology, they call them pick me's. So if you're black and conservative, they call you a pick me. They say you want to be picked by the racist white people. If you're gay and not woke, they call you a pick me. Like they call my friend Mike Harlow a pick me. Oh, you just want to be picked by straight people. If you're a woman and you know, you're not woke, they call you a pick me. Oh, you just want to be picked by men. But what's really funny is like a lot of things that attempted, you know, name calling is projection. Like a lot of what they do is projection. They're telling the truth about themselves. This woman, this is a pick me. This is a white person who's like, please like me, woke people. I've done all the things. I've done all the things. I'm a good white person. I'm not like those other white people. Like that is the epitome of it's so disgusting and groveling and just like I am a doormat. Like please validate me. That's what I read from this. Okay. So she says, I know I have lots of unconscious racial biases, but I try hard to listen and not cause harm. I also really love dogs. I have an awesome dog. He is cute and friendly, and we know lots of people in our neighborhood who I wouldn't otherwise have any reason to interact with. Having a cute, friendly dog, I'm very used to people paying attention to him and not talking to me. This is true. People do this with my dog Tiger all the time, which is fine. I love it. Not only do I not mind this, it brings me joy to see people dote on him. That's good. I also talk a lot at my job and can sometimes feel burned out from any more conversation than I'm professionally obligated to engage in. I am friendly with some fellow dog parents, and dogs being the focal point of our interaction often seems like a global inside joke. About a month ago, a woman somewhere in my age range moved immediately next door to me. She is black. I am, if this isn't obvious by now, white. No, it's pretty obvious. I was bringing my dog in when she was moving in, and she said she knew someone would want to say hello. She opened her door, and her own adorable dog ran out. The dogs happily greeted each other. I was happy and even harbored visions in the moment of exchanging keys with my new neighbor and helping each other with dog walks on occasion. A few weeks passed. I had some travel, and then after I returned, I saw them on the street when I was racing off somewhere, and I cheerily said hello to the dog. Later that day, oh no. Later that day, I saw them again and said hello to the dog. Oh, I saw them again and again I said hello to the dog. My neighbor yanked the dog away from me and my dog and yelled, "Don't say hi to my dog if you aren't going to say hi to me." I was extremely surprised, and I faintly called after her, "I just really love dogs." Prudy, she clearly thinks I'm a racist when I really just love dogs. I have seen her since then and gotten a similar aggressive, ignoring response, though no more comments. What can I do? Should I put a note under her door? What should it say? I'm not racist, I just love dogs seems a bit reductive, but it's the truth. I usually operate with a fairly high level of emotional intelligence, and I'm completely stumped by the appropriate move here. I no longer harbor happy ideas of us becoming neighbor friends. Am I racist and clueless? Help me. Okay, so let me tell you my advice before I read this crazy woke advice to this clueless white woman. Um, she here's the thing. If this really happened the way you're describing it, if it's accurate, your neighbor's crazy. Okay, your neighbor is offended way too easily, takes offense, sees racism and everything or what have you, or just is a nasty person. So why are you trying to apologize, and why do you care what she thinks? Is it because you're woke and white and you really want that black friend next door? Is it because you can't tolerate someone not liking you, especially a black person? Like, who cares? Why would you want to be friends with someone like that who would yank their dog away from you and say, if you're not going to say hi to me, don't say hi to my dog? You know, at most, all that would have been required in the moment would be like, excuse me, I just want to say hello to your dog. Hello, I'm sorry, didn't mean to be rude. That's it. Don't write her a letter or give her chocolates or whatever it is you're thinking, weird, like, woke white lady. Quit chasing her. That's weird. Let it go. You don't need to be friends with everybody. Some people don't deserve your friendship. You know what? Just let it go. If you want to be funny and troll her, the next time you see her and a dog, you could say hello to the dog again. Like, very friendly. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying if that's your sense of humor and your personality. But at the very least, like, don't chase her down and try and, like, force a friendship with someone who is that easily offended and rude, right? Rude. She was rude. She owes you the apology. So that's I think the best advice this woke white lady could have. It's like, stop putting so much time and quit doing all this stuff up top. Unconscious biases. Ugh. Like, get out of woke. That's the first bit of advice. Okay, but so here's the advice they offer her. Actually, let me pause just a second if you guys don't mind. Because I have some super chats. I want to thank you very much. Beard, thank you for the super chat, Beard. The $5. He says, owning a dog is racist. We need to bring back public shaming, mockery, and spanking. LOL. Not the fun kind. Well, apparently everything's racist now, Beard. And public shaming seems lately to be used for the wrong things, where they try to shame people like Jason Aldean or, like this white lady who said hello to the dog. But I agree. I think some of the things that need to be shamed, like doing sexual dances in front of children for some reason, people are afraid to say shame to that, Even some church leaders are afraid to say shame to that. They should be the first people speaking up. Anyway, thank you for your super chat. And follow up from Beard for $5. Have you read Starship Troopers? You should. The book is nothing like the movie and quite a think piece. It has a great solution to the issues of today. No, I haven't. And I don't think anyone's ever recommended that to me before. I'm going to write it down. Thank you very much. And thank you for supporting the channel. Thanks for the super chat. And ADL for $1.99. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Good to see you here. I'm glad the time is okay doing it an hour later like this. I think it's going to be better for most people. Okay, so to get back to this letter about is it racist to say hello to a person's dog and not to them? Here is the advice. Now, we're reading a blog entry about the advice, and so this is what the blogger has to say. She says, I was eager to read Prudy's advice because Daniel Mallory Ottberg is generally spot on. But after I finished it, I was left wanting a bit more. Ottberg told this person that he or she might have been spiraling out a little bit, telling the writer that their primary concern was not to appear racist, which was misguided. And actually, that's true. I agree with him on this. That's the problem with woke, though. That is the problem with the ideology, is it creates these white woke monsters who are just like, I'm not one of the race. Because in this ideology, they're born, it's like they say you're born with an implicit bias and a certain amount of privilege because of your race or sex or sexuality or whatever. And it's a workspace religion, woke is. And so they're constantly like, not me. I'm not like the others. So that's a function of the belief system. But yeah, they're right. That her primary concern was not to appear racist, which was misguided. Ottberg said that a note would be overbearing, yes, and might further freak the neighbor out. He did tell the writer that an appropriate response to the black woman would have been, I'm sorry I was rude. I'll say hello next time we run into each other. Not, I just really love dogs. Basically, Ottberg ended the note with everybody isn't going to like you and left it at that. Same. I agree. That's what I said. That's the best advice. It's okay that not everybody likes you. Okay, so here the blogger continues. But being the Black woman I am, I am, having shared this same experience, I wanted him to drill down even further. Can I just pause here where she's like, having shared this same experience? So have I. It's not because you're Black, honey. It's because you have a dog. This is going to happen. There are going to be people who don't say hello to you and just say hello to your dog. And it's not something to freak out about. It's not a big deal. Why can't you just be happy that your dog gave them a smile or a bit of joy? It's not a racist thing. Oh my goodness. Okay. Having shared this same experience, I wanted him to drill down even further. But being that Daniel Mallory Ottberg is not Black himself, he might not have had the range. Now, here's where this blog entry gets really funny. A couple years ago, my sister and I flew home to our hometown of Indianapolis, Indiana, to be with my mom during her double mastectomy surgery. The whole thing went very well, and a few days later, we decided to take a walk downtown as a family. At this point, the family included my mom, dad, sister, myself, and Ollie, the new teddy bear brown colored toy poodle she had gotten a few months before. I spent the first 18 years of my life in Indianapolis, and never have I been approached by so many white people in one setting before. Never. And really, it wasn't us they were approaching, it was the dog. This is true for me too. Again, if I go to the grocery store, if I go out in the real world without Tiger, few people approach me for any reason. If I take Tiger with me, it's like every other person is smiling, oh, or they say something, that's one great thing about having a dog. If you're a person who struggles with depression or anxiety, I highly recommend, if you're able to take care of a pet, because it takes some of the focus off of yourself and your own neuroticism. And also, when you go out in the world with your pet, lots of people smile at you, like everywhere you go. They're all want to talk to you because your dog. People are friendlier. So this is not a race thing. It's because you have the dog. Okay. She says, I've never been approached by so many white people in one setting before. Never. And really, it wasn't us they were approaching. It was the dog. Their eyes never met ours as they crouched down to greet Ollie. After speaking English words to a dog who didn't understand them, it's like she's pissed for no reason. Of course people speak. I have whole conversations with dogs. Like, yes, we know they don't understand us. It's just funny. It's cute. Why you gotta be so negative? After speaking English words to a dog who didn't understand them, they offered silent smiles in our direction. They smiled at you. You're getting more smiles from strangers. What is the problem here? They spoke to their fellow white friends and loved ones about how cute he was, never looking in our direction at all. Although, didn't you say they smiled at you? As someone who's been called an N-word, taunted with the Confederate flag, and experienced all kinds of microaggressions, that's a woke word, in the great state of Indiana, I'm never yearning to interact with strange white people. Oh, okay. So you're the negative but. Like you are the person who's, then don't get a dog, because people will interact more with you. Like if you can't be friendly and you hate people being friendly to you, then why on earth would you go out with a dog? Just a negative person. I'm never yearning to interact with strange white people. And you're racist too, because you specify white people. It's not strange people, it's white people. Okay, racist. Still watching them fawn over a dog and ignore us. The only thing I could think was, ain't that a bitch? You just said you don't want to interact with them, and yet you're resentful that they did not try and talk to you. They just said hello to the dog. Have you ever considered that maybe they're just smiling at you and petting the dog because they don't want to bother you? What are they going to say to you anyway? Like that's less taking up less of your time. Just to smile at you and say something about the dog is cute, and that's it. That's what most people do. What are they supposed to do? Stop you and ask you like who you are and where you're from, and it's just so weird what she's simultaneously expecting and then also saying she doesn't want. So see what she's doing here? Even if she got what she was expecting, if they were starting long conversations with her, she would be annoyed because she just said, I'm never yearning to interact with strange white people. So it's like, it's a lose-lose with this kind of person. They're just a miserable person. Again, I don't know why she's going out with a dog if you're this miserable. Then she goes, in white people's defense. Oh, thanks. Thank you. My mom's dog is cute AF. So much so that she has irrational fears of people stealing him. And then there's a picture of her cute little dog. He's adorable. He looks just like one of the dogs I dog sit a lot, except that dog is white. He's not this peanut color. But just a little ball of fluff. Okay. Still, culturally black folks and other people of color place a high value on speaking and acknowledging other human beings in various settings. Really? Because you just said you don't want any white people talking to you. And it's annoying. Not that white folks don't share that social norm with us, but that they would extend this courtesy to an animal first and exclusively. One woman we saw on the walk was brought almost to tears seeing him, the dog. To her credit, once she collected herself, she asked us if she could pet him. We lifted him up. So she's talking to you. So what you just said is not true. This woman's engaging with you. She's clearly looking at you. She's loves your dog, wants to pet him. We lift him up, and to my utter delight, the dog, Ollie, used his paw to push her hand away. You see what a miserable, nasty person she is? That gave you delight? This woman is having joy at seeing your dog, asked to see him, and if you don't want her to see him, you could just be an honest person and say, "No, I'm busy. I gotta get somewhere," and keep going. But you don't have the guts to do that. You hold the dog up like you're pretending to be a friendly person is what you're doing. You're pretending. And then when the dog pushes her hand away, you have delight inside. Like, what a ghoul. Like, the more I was reading this, I'm like, this blogger is just nasty. This website, by the way, what is it? madamenoir.com. I don't know. I've never read her before, but if this is any indication, just I can't imagine knowing this person in real life, and I feel like they'd bring a dark cloud into everything, you know. And I can't stand fake people. Don't pretend to be friendly. If it's putting you out so much, just keep going. If I asked to pet your dog and you don't want me to pet your dog, just say so. I much prefer that than some demon being like, yes, and then cackling with delight inside if the dog is shy and doesn't want me to touch it, you know? Like, okay. So she continues, my mom's dog is sensitive and clannish, but I took his rejection to her touch as a symbol that he too wasn't with her bullshit. What? When we talk about racism, so often black people speak about white folks caring more about dogs than they do about black folk. Dog and cat videos make up the highest consumed content on the web. What does that have to do with anything? What is that? So people like dogs and cats? As opposed to what? Black people video? Like, what are you trying to say here? Like, why isn't it black people videos? Like, okay. We make jokes about white people letting dogs kiss them in the mouth while simultaneously not wanting a black person to move next door. I don't know anyone like that. I do know a few people who let dogs kiss them in the mouth, which I think is gross. But I don't know anyone who's like, oh, I don't want a black couple to move next door. What? This isn't the 50s. This is 2023. You're living in a fantasy world. She continues, and most importantly, a video of a dog being abused is far more impactful to white folks than a black person being murdered on tape. Of course, there's no statistics or evidence for that listed here. She just says it, but okay. White celebrities rally behind animal cruelty in ways they never have when it comes to racism or police brutality. This was only written, by the way, in 2019. So this is a freaking lie. This is right in the heart of all of the white celebrities, coming forward and talking about Black Lives Matter and the police brutality, races. Like, this is right in the heart of BLM, the scam that was BLM, dominating what celebrities are talking about. You need only watch the commercials from the ASPCA featuring Sarah McLachlan's Angel. Those ads raised $30 million in its first year of airing in 2007. Yeah, you had to reach way back to 2007? Or see Jimmy Kimmel being brought to tears discussing the death of Cecil the Lion in the same year that Walter Scott, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, and 97 other unarmed Black men and women were killed by the police. There were no tears for them. This is so melodramatic and manipulative and such a lie. I know we as human beings have the capacity to care about more than one issue at a time. Still, the care and concern for animals is far greater than what it should be for the Black people with whom white folks share an entire species. And so while I appreciate Ottberg telling the writer that he or she shouldn't be concerned about being liked by the Black neighbor, I wish he had provided a little context as to why speaking to the dog over a person is at best rude as hell and worst racist as F. I guarantee it would help the writer fare better in that Black neighborhood they're gentrifying. This is what it's like to be, if you were never in the woke world like me, you may not be used to so much negativity and misery and condescension. The condescension is so thick, right? But this is what it's like in the woke world, and with woke opinion pieces, they all condescend. They're all sitting up on this moral high horse. They're like the church lady from SNL, except woke. It's about woke. Like, they're way up here. Thanks for letting me read that piece. I just thought that one in particular was very funny and ridiculous. Okay. I've got another one. She's hysterical. Yes. Thomas says, do they like being miserable all the time? It's so weird. Yeah, they do. Because they get this sense of moral superiority out of it. I think they would be happier, a lot of them, if they stopped being miserable. They just don't know anything else. And your body can become addicted to dopamine hits off of negative stuff. Like, some people get on a negative feedback loop where they get addicted to the hormones that are being released when negative things happen and when they're upset. And I've known some people like that in real life. And it's like, wow, you're stuck over here. If only you could come over here and try to find positive reinforcements or things to get dopamine for. But yeah, it can become addictive. I think a lot of it, though, is that psychological. It's like that moral superiority. Like, think of the church lady sketch from SNL. That kind of condescension. Like, they get off on being sort of, I'm the best, I'm the most moral, I'm the most woke, I'm the most correct, I'm the least racist, I'm the least sexist, I'm the least phobic, it's that holier than thou thing. And that's what you see. Little ragamuffins here, lady. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I mentioned you when we were talking about the good old boys. Good to see you. I have to show off the thing that you sent me. I don't have it with me right now. I'll have to do it on the next episode. I showed it off in one already, but I have to show it again. It's so cool. Thank you. Jules. Hi, Keri. My comment about A Violent Mind was not about Roseanne. It was about Shannon Watts. Oh, and her reading violence into Jason's statement. Oh, thank you for the clarification. I'm glad you sent me this. You didn't have to super chat. I'm sorry, but thank you. I appreciate the support. 5 lira. 5 pounds. Thank you very much, Jules. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, I don't know if Roseanne has a violent mind. I've never heard that. But yeah, Shannon, yeah, she's thinking in terms of violence. And she supports disarming citizens. There's nothing more violent. That is a violent mind, to disarm citizens, to want to disarm the population. Dawn, I hardly ever get to hang out here anymore. Now I have to go do actual work. Thank you, everyone. It's been fun. Well, we've enjoyed having you here. Good luck with your work and happy Friday. Oh, lira is a pound in Italian, so it checks out. Great. I'm gonna keep saying it. Oh, and thank you for this. Okay. Uh, Brahma Bull says, Keri, don't forget to mention the hubby is going to be on with 70s on Monday. So my husband, who you can find here on Anthony Garcia Music, he's a musician. Some of you know he's going to be on that 70s rock fans podcast on Monday on a live stream at 3 o'clock Central. I If I can figure it out ahead of time, I'll do that thing where you send the raid and you send all the live viewers over to that stream because I think that'll be fun. I'm very excited about it. Thank you, Brahma, for reminding me and putting us in touch. And uh, he just has I'm biased because he's my husband, but he has a brilliant mind and he knows a lot about music and history um, and he's also very talented as a musician. And so I'm really excited to hear the two of them in conversation and see what they talk about. He's got really interesting things to say about classical music and metal and country, and he's read a lot of music biographies. So I think the two of them together are going to have a lot of different topics they can cover. So that's happening on Monday, which is pretty cool. Okay. Thank you, Roma. I've got one more. Do we have time for one more funny? Okay. Yeah, we do. This is another hilarious woke piece. I just saw the title and laughed again. This one is called, this is on Bustle from 2020. After 4 years of unrelenting racism, I got a DNA test for my dog. I just I love the way they stretch things is so far, like, how can I write a piece about the racism and the Trump years and make it relate to my dog? And like, what? It's so stupid. Okay. Thank you, Robert. I'm glad other people find it as funny as I do. Also, her dog's black, which she's gonna get into. This is by someone named Shayla Lawson. A few months ago, during what I'm calling the fall of white supremacy, this, this is not parody, you guys. This is a real article. Okay, I'm going to get it together. What color do you wear during the fall of white supremacy? Because I try and pick a color for every season. Like my color of the summer was yellow, and now I'm moving into fall. Like, but if it's the fall of white supremacy, like you might need a specific. Can't just go based on the color wheel. I'm talking about fashion, guys. Okay. A few months ago, during what I'm calling the fall of white supremacy, I got my dog DNA tested. The connection might seem strange, but is maybe a little easier to understand when I tell you that my dog is black. Black, black. His blackness earned him the name Sammy Davis Jr. Jr. That's pretty funny, actually. Because he always looks like he's wearing a Rat Pack tuxedo with his little white feet and tightly coiled black curly hair. My dog's hair is so black I have to buy products to care for it out of the black hair care aisle in CVS because it's closer to African American hair texture than dog fur. When left to its own devices, it twists and locks. When I rescued him from the top of the kill list at my local shelter 8 years ago, I was told he was Havanese. I was skeptical. Black dogs and cats are adopted at much lower rates and are more likely to be euthanized than other animals. There is even a term for it, black dog syndrome. And a lot of campaigning is done by volunteers to make black pets more likable, giving one a fancy breed, for instance. Every time I told Sammy's admirers and curious passerby, veterinarians even, that my dog was Havanese, they always insisted he was something else. He can't be Havanese, a vet told me once, pointing to the posters on the office wall of standard dogs, against which show dogs and breeds are evaluated. There, the Havanese is a pure white dog with straight or wavy hair. Its name is actually the shortened form of the name Blanquito de Habana, which means the white dog of Havana. And when the breed was Cuba's official dog, white supposedly was all there was. For years, I Googled dogs like Sammy, looking for verification that a dog that was both nearly all black and afroed could be something other than a mutt. The denial that accompanied me and Sammy's encounters with dog people gave me pause because it was so similar to how people have always approached me. "Oh, what kind of dog is he?" was the doggy equivalent to, "No, where are you really from?" question I've gotten from white people for as long as I can remember, across 2 coasts and multiple states. The underlying assertion is always the same, that I'm not American, that America belongs to a pure white race. No. Um, then they have a pull quote here, which is a really great pull quote from this piece. Oh my gosh, True Meeps in the chat says, "Gave me pause," spelled P-A-W-S. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love a good pun. Okay, here's the pull quote. "When a man gets elected to president on a racist platform, those of us most at risk in the fallout start sorting out whatever documentation that we can, updated passports, long form birth certificates, the deeds to houses, and in my case, a doggy DNA test." This is serious. This is not parody. She's really trying to say because Trump was elected, I had to go get a dog DNA test. What? For her safety and her dog's safety, right? What? Okay. This idea was the foundation of Donald Trump's pivot from business to politics. The birther conspiracy questioning the Americanness of the 44th president, a black man named Barack Hussein Obama. When a man like Trump gets elected to president on a racist platform of building a border wall between Mexico and the US and little else, those of us most at risk in the fallout start sorting out whatever documentation that we can. Updated passports, long form birth certificates, the deeds to houses, and in my case, a doggy DNA test. Like many Black Americans, I am of African, Indigenous, and European ancestry, but have spent decades trying to get white people to recognize this. At 10, I sat at the feet of my mother's First Nations great-grandmother, a woman whose original name was lost to her childhood internment in a re-education camp. On my father's side, freemen established an entire town in Texas during the 1800s, before Trump's folks had ever touched American soil. But at 11, when I created a family tree that included these facts of my ancestry, the teacher sat my mother down for a conference and suggested I was lying, that I had made up stories to make myself more interesting, as if I were trying to claim a larger place in the American landscape than a black person could have. Even in this, it's like if your teacher thinks you're being fanciful, it's not necessarily because you're black. It's not because this motive you're putting in the teacher's head of like, oh, you're black and you can't possibly have a large place in the American landscape. No, it could just be that they think you're telling stories because you have very interesting stories. This is an illness. Woke is an illness where it gets you to like assume every time that the cause for something is race-based. It just must be racism. In fact, they say this, they teach this. The woke, the critical race theory teaches that we must not ask how racism we must not ask if racism is present, but how it's present. Like they go in saying racism is here. Mid-September was the last time I had someone yell, "Go back to Africa," as a drive-by, while I sat parked on the side of the road waiting for directions from white police. Okay, this makes me agree with your teacher, your elementary school teacher when you were 11. I also think you make up stories because I just don't this is not a common thing. This whole go back to Africa thing. I don't believe this happened to you. Sorry. Um I thought about how Trump had terrorized Representative Ilhan Omar with a chant of "Send her back" at a 2019 rally, and I bought the dog DNA test. We were 4 years into the racist noise machine that was 45's reign, and about to decide whether he would get another 4. It was time to solidify Sammy's Havanese citizenship. What? Again, she's talking about her dog's DNA test. What does that have to do with anything? With Trump? with Ilhan Omar, with anything, with race. She goes, "It's not that I actually thought a DNA test for myself or my dog would keep me safe in this climate, but the prospect of holding papers that claimed, at least for one of us, our rightful place in the legacy of a country was a thought that kept me from losing my mind. This is nonsense. Once again, you're making up stories. I don't believe this for a second. This article is such a stretch. There's no way that you're like, you know what would make me feel safe in Trump's America? Getting my dog's DNA tested." Like, what? As a BIPOC American, ugh, it is scary to think that I can't produce some neatly packaged story that connects my ancestors to the Pilgrims or Ellis Island, because records of those sorts were destroyed or never kept in a targeted effort to keep us from ever thinking of ourselves as more than livestock. Honey, the government thinks of all of us as livestock, okay? It's not a race thing. We have been written off as either property or collateral in the books to forcibly maintain America's white supremacist mythology. Ugh, ugh, this is like one of the craziest pieces I've read. Okay, so she continues. Trust me, it's worth it to get to the end. We're almost at the end. She says, "Groups like the Proud Boys," is a pull quote. "Groups like the Proud Boys felt pure race rhetoric would carry this nation to another Trump victory, but the Proud Boys can't even maintain the purity of the white race in the Proud Boys." Yeah, that's because they're not white supremacists. They have lots of people who are Black or Latino, and that it is not what you believe it to be and call it. Okay. She's talking about how the Million MAGA March was a ripoff of the Million Man March. She's talking about how the current chairman of the Proud Boys is Enrique Tarrio, who's Black and Cuban, not unlike Sammy, my pup, her dog. She goes, "Sammy's test came back, and he is now certified Havanese, 100% purebred." That's her dog. Okay. And she goes back to the Proud Boys. "If you're asking how Enrique Tarrio, a Black Cuban man, could be the leader of what's currently America's most ubiquitous hate group, it's not only in America that white supremacists have rewritten to recast the West as all white faces. Tarrio talks fondly of how the Proud Boys reminded him of growing up in Little Havana with his Cuban family, their celebration of the West, and speaking specifically of the United States, quote, what our founding fathers have built." She says the only thing you need to be a white supremacist is the belief that white culture is more foundational than anyone else's, including your own. It's not white culture, okay? It's Western culture. Then she's talking about how the word Latino was created to rob indigenous identities from people. Again, it's like, wah, like the white extremists. Okay, here's the end. Here's how she wraps it up. "A purebred America never was and never will be a pure white one. No matter how much cruelty, violence, erasure, and euthanasia have been used in the Americas for decades to uphold this myth, my Sammy, her dog, is still here. I am still here," in italics. "I am calling this fall the fall of white supremacy because I have the right to revise the future in my favor, as white extremists have done for centuries, and so do you. After all, aren't we all worth more than the history of dogs?" Here she is. I would think she would be younger, like a young, woke Gen Z, maybe, or millennial at least, wrote this piece. But no, a grown ass adult woman wrote this nonsense. Uh, anyway, thanks for laughing with me through this. I giggled so much when I was reading this yesterday. Again, if you want to find it online, it's called "After 4 Years of Unrelenting Racism, I Got a DNA Test for My Dog." Okay. It's just silly. She is so brave, says Erin Williams. I am still here, she says. My dog is still here. Uh, it's just so dumb. Uh, it's cringe. That's the word the kids use. Yeah, this is certifiably insane, says Night Train. Yes. Yes. Okay, those are some funny ones. Um, I also this one's kind of funny. We have a few more minutes left, so I'm gonna show you one more. This is from The Root. They publish a lot of woke, racist crap. This one is funny for two reasons. One, the author's trying to be funny, and I think he succeeds. This guy's written a lot of crap, though. This guy, Michael Harriot, but I will give him that. Is that some of his purposeful attempt to be funny works, but it's also unintentionally funny again because of all the racism in it. Like they don't ever view this crap as racism or racist because again they've redefined racism to conveniently say, oh, it's just prejudice if it's against white people, it's not racism. So this is from The Root, and this one's called An Open Letter from Black America to White People's Pets. And this is from 2017. uh, hey, Chauncey, I'm sorry about the frown, but it's just weird for me when white people name their pets human names like Alexander or Guinevere. Not even Gwen, but the whole ass Guinevere. Whatever happens to names like Fido or Mr. Wiggles? I'm going to pause here and say, I agree with him. I find this hilarious. In fact, we talk about this all the time, my husband and I, about the funniest possible names for dogs. And I always find it really funny when a dog is named like Richard. Like, it's just like, what is he, an accountant? Like, it's such a human name. Um, there are some human names that work, like Charlie, I think works pretty well for a dog. But the very formal sounding names, those are the funny ones when, it's like, this is my dog, Catherine. It's like, what? It's just so formal. Anyway, um, so I agree with him. He says, expecting me to use all those syllables when I'm talking to a dog is white privilege. Black people get 2 syllables, that's it. Your people should do the same. Anyway, we thought we needed to have a talk with y'all because on numerous occasions we've tried to have this chat with your owners and it always fails. We figured that you guys could bark some sense into their heads since they act as if they can understand you more than they do us. See, there's that condescension again. Even though this is meant to be a humorous piece, he's still got these racist little digs like that. White people act as if they can understand dogs more than us. Okay. So he says, basically, what we want to say is y'all need to chill. Lately, we have noticed you walking around and chilling in places that you should not be. At first, it was riding around in cars. We used to assume that when a dog was in a car, it was on the way to the veterinarian or headed to the dog park. But then we'd see you waiting in the car at the grocery store and we wondered what the F was going on. Okay, they must have stopped to pick up some gravy train on the way home from the vet, we thought. We were wrong. Then we started bringing you they started bringing you guys inside the store, and we were like, "Really, white people?" Here's that racist word they use for white people. White people. Really, white people? Is that necessary? Look, I own a 165-pound Great Dane, and I don't even take him to the pet store. It's not like he's going to pick out anything. When I bring a chew toy home, he has never complained. A rubber duck inward, I was hoping for a bone. Um, I am one of those people who takes my dog to the store. And a couple things here. If my dog were a 165-pound Great Dane, I also would not take him to the store. He probably wouldn't go very many places with me, except hiking, or for walks, to the park maybe. But I have a little dog. He's very portable. I take him almost everywhere. He enjoys going places, and I enjoy having him with me. And I really don't care what you think about my dog being in a Target or sitting in the top of the the buggy. Um, it's if it's your store and you tell me he's not allowed, I'll respect your rules, your wishes, and I'll take him out. But if the store owner doesn't have a problem with it, I don't really care what you passerby has to say about it. So, uh, I just had to comment on that because this part of the letter, again, I think this is a really funny piece, but and this is also my defensiveness makes me laugh as well. I can laugh myself, but yeah, I'm like, why does it bother you? Why does it bother you if he's at Target? Anyway, he says, but we remained polite and didn't say anything, even though we noticed it happening more and more. I'm sure you know how white people are. Give them an inch and they'll take a yard. That's that quote I mentioned earlier about the devil. He's using it about white people. Again, these little racist jabs that he peppers in here. Give white people an inch and they'll take a yard. And then they'll let their puppy poop in that yard. He says, now you guys are everywhere. I see you in malls, at the dry cleaners, and I swear this is true at church. That's right. There are churches that have pet services. What the F, man? I know Jesus is up there watching and shaking his head thinking, hey, daddy, come look at this. They're taking the all dogs go to heaven thing too literally. I'm going to stop right here. I have taken my dog to church, but it's not what you think. I've only taken him to church when I had to, when we had to get out of the house I was selling my old place, and we had to get out of the house so potential buyers could come and look at it. And it was Sunday and I didn't want to skip church and I had him with me and I wasn't going to leave him in a hot car. And everybody was pretty cool about it actually. And then there was another time I had to take him. I can't remember why, but we were meeting in a guitar shop anyway. So now we're renting. I go to church on the square in Georgetown, and we're renting this beautiful church. It's called St. John's Methodist, and it's gorgeous. And I don't think he belongs there, and so he hasn't come to a service there with me. If we have an emergency of some kind, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I think I'm kind of rambling now. This continues on. He gets upset about dogs being in restaurants, and he uses some gross language. It's grosser than what he's describing. You know what I mean? It's like if you have a problem with a dog being in a restaurant because you think it's gross, but then you write online essays using this kind of language about dogs' anatomy and stuff, like, do you really have a problem with gross things? Because you seem to write about it pretty easily. Like you seem to be pretty gross in your choice of words. So anyway, that piece, if you want to read it, it's on the Root. It's called An Open Letter from Black America to White People's Pets. I think I'm losing my voice now. There are tons of these pieces, though. Like I said, if you're curious, just Google dogs and racist. You'll find all kinds of pieces. Here's another one from the Root. I'm not going to read it. I'm just show you the headline. Black people don't hate dogs. We just hate when their lives are valued more than ours. I mean, there's a ton of this stuff. So it was quite the rabbit hole to go down reading all of that. But yeah, that's all the various ways in which being a dog, owning a dog, talking to other people's dogs, or taking your dog out with you makes you a racist. So the more you know. Dog whistles, says someone. Yeah. Davina, I love how they purport to speak for an entire race of people. Yeah, they do. They do that all the time. They assign themselves that power of speaking for groups of people. Robert says, a chupacabra in church. Yeah, he was. The other time he came to church was actually when we were meeting outside, because my church, we lost our old meeting place. We used to meet in the Palace Theater in Georgetown, and we got ousted after my pastor and several women from my church, and myself included, spoke at city council against a mural in town that Forbes Middle School had these middle schoolers paint with all these different sexuality flags on it. You know, so you're talking like 10-year-olds painting this. He spoke out against it at city council, and it turns out there was the arts council for the city and the council for the arts council for the board or whatever of the Palace Theater had a member in common. And so we think it was retaliation, very likely, because right after he spoke at city council, we lost the building. Even though they had paid rent and everything up front, and it he had what he thought was a good relationship with them. And then suddenly it's like, you can't meet here anymore. So after that, we started meeting outside on the town square. And during that time when we had outdoor services, I actually used to take my dog all the time because we're outside. Oh, that's different. It's like, oh, he likes it. That was fun. But we're no longer meeting there. We went back to the guitar shop for a while, quite a while, and then now we're in a new church building that we're renting. Is your dog baptized? No, but let me tell you. So when we bought this house, my husband and I bought this old house in Texas. We're outside of Austin, and this house was built in 1914, and it's required a lot of work. That's why you see this quilt hanging behind me that a bunch of the knitters made, because it's covering up the wallpaper that we started tearing down in here. And before we moved this room lower on the list in order of rooms that we're doing. And anyway, we're renovating this place, and it has a lot of history. It's been around since 1914. And my husband thought it would be a good idea to have a priest come. He was raised Catholic, and so to have a priest come and bless the house. And so we called the local Catholic church, and they were so accommodating. They've helped us out in other ways too. We're not even members there, but they're great. And so anyway, the priest from the local Catholic church came, and here's something interesting. So he did sprinkle holy water in every room, said a prayer, bless the house. But when he got here, my dog Tiger barks at everyone who comes to the door. Everyone. Because that's their job. His job is, dogs have that job. They just naturally are little, alarm bells. They tell you when somebody's here. Little doorbells. And he just barks at everyone, especially strangers. If he doesn't know you, if he's never met you, he's going to keep barking, right? The only stranger that he's didn't bark at who came to our house was the Catholic priest. This is weird. It's very weird. My husband thinks it's weird. People who know my dog thinks it's weird. He didn't bark at the Catholic priest, not once. And the Catholic priest also blessed Tiger, like he sprinkled it with holy water, which he needed. And so he's not baptized, but he's been blessed with holy water. And because of that, we say he's Catholic. When I have taken him to my church, I told people, like, he's just visiting because he's a Catholic, But anyway, just a funny little tidbit. I don't know why that is. I don't know why he didn't bark at the priest. And later that day, after the priest left, that same day, we had a friend come over who was going to do our heating and air to look at the house, and he boom, 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 barking at the friend, just like normal, but not the priest. Kind of crazy. Especially black people. OMG, racist dog alert. Well, get this. The priest was black. Isn't that funny? He did not bark at the black Catholic priest. He barks at everyone else. Don't know. Okay. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for letting me ramble a bit today and have fun with you guys. And I hope you have a great weekend. It's Friday, so enjoy your weekend. And if you have a second, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you like the content. Yesterday was our interview day, and I put out an interview with Frank McCormick, who you may know as Chalkboard Heresy, and I would highly recommend this interview. He was a public school teacher who blew the whistle on CRT and woke within his school. He ended up resigning so he could speak freely. He tells his whole story of walking away from all of his years in public education because of what's happening there. He's basically like a canary in the coal mine is what he is. Very courageous dude. And I hope more people listen to it. He's got a great story, and he's a great storyteller. Like, some people have a great story, but they don't know how to tell it in a concise way and to make it also interesting and keep people's attention. He does both. I guess that would be natural for him since he was a teacher. But I highly recommend the interview from yesterday. And otherwise, I'll see you guys on Monday. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.